Great. So, hi, everybody. My name is Susie Tuchinski. I am an occupational therapist and a certified driving rehab specialist. I've been an OT officially for 20 years, which I never thought. I was like, "Well, I feel so young. Like 20 years is like a long time." When you start OT and you think, oh God, like once you hit that 20-year mark, what will you be doing? And are you retired? No, not yet. I think I probably have 20, 30 years to go. Um, and I'm not sure we ever stop being an OT once we learn how to do that, right? And I've been a driving rehab specialist now since I can't remember if I took the course in 2003 or 2002, which I really should remember. But I even at one point I called Susan Pierce, who I took my driving rehab coursework from. And she said, I don't remember. And I was like, well, I don't remember either. But I've been doing driving rehab for at least 17 years, we'll say. And I just really love this area of practice. My personal mission is to share my love for OT as well as my love for driving rehab with anyone who's interested. And recently, I've just been super excited about private practice as well. So I just wanted to share a little bit of information with you guys about that because I think that it's kind of like the perfect trifecta, right? Between OT and driving rehab and private practice. So if you're somebody who's looking for something different or you're interested in exploring, something that excites you and is out of the box and literally out of the clinic, it's such an amazing fit. I wanted to start today by talking about the idea of the employee mindset. So I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of working with my own personal job coach, who's been helping me kind of transition my own mindset over the past couple of years from working for somebody else versus working for myself. So the idea in a nutshell about this employee mindset is that when you're an employee, you're kind of trained to think about the organization, to work for the organization, and to prioritize it. So if that's your rehab clinic, a hospital, an outpatient center, it's somebody else that you work for. And so, in a nutshell, you end up having to make decisions and prioritize things based on the needs of somebody else, right? So for me, the employee mindset really kind of came in really early in my life. Like I've been doing some reflecting on this. I'm one of four kids. I'm a middle child. I'm the middle girl. My parents are like pretty disciplined people, and it's always been the idea like you do what you're told, right? Think for yourself, be creative, be smart, be brilliant, do what you can, but you do what you're told. It's like stay in line, especially when you have four kids and you're going somewhere. Like you can't have them running everywhere. Stay in line. So that for me is always carried over in my schooling and my job and my career to the point where, I go through OT school. I'm not even really encouraged to think about private practice. And I end up thinking, where am I going to work? Who am I going to work for? And I think talking to a lot of other OTs and a lot of other people in healthcare, we're kind of put on this path, right? So nurses, they work for a hospital. OTs, PTs, speech, we work for a rehab group, right? So we kind of get funneled into these organizations. It's interesting because my husband's a chiropractor, and their whole training and education, their mindset isn't about being an employee, it's about being an entrepreneur. And they're, forgive me if I say that word wrong. I often say entrepreneur, which means I really got to work on it because I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But the idea, like they're coached from the beginning, like start your own practice, do your own thing, and even medical doctors. So I've been thinking a lot about that. And for me, if you've had a chance to read I'm working on this article I've been writing about my own autonomy and practice. I had a few examples of how this employee mindset really impacted me over the years. So it's the idea for, and I know we've all been here, right? The holidays are coming up, or really, it's 3 months away, right? Because now we have to put our time off requests in 3 months early. It's 3 months away, and we're trying to figure out, do we get off the day after Thanksgiving? Who gets to have the day before Christmas off? Who gets the day after New Year's off? So the employee mindset is I have to take my turn, right? I don't just get those things. And we have to take our turn. And if I got it last year, somebody else gets it this year. And it doesn't matter if my kids are off. Someone's going to have to not get what they need, right? For me, it's also the idea that when it came to documentation done, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna just mute everybody really quick. I think I can do that because there's just a little feedback. I thought I had that power, guys, and now I'm looking. If you aren't on mute, can you do me a favor and just mute your phone, just so we don't have that background noise. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, there we go. Hold on. So I'm still getting a little bit of feedback. If you wouldn't mind just putting yourself on mute if you're. I'm looking to see if anyone. Miriam, I'm not sure if your phone's on mute. Are you able to mute yourself? For some reason, it's not letting me help you with that. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm not sure how to stop that. I really apologize. I'll just try and keep going. So the other way that I've seen kind of the employee mindset is like the idea of, right, we have a limited number of hours in our day. We're trying to get through what we can get through. And you end up like through lunch doing your documentation so that you can clock out at the end of the day. It's also the idea that we've got these productivity demands, right? We've got to get so much done in this structured schedule. It's that when we're told that we have to switch from being salary to being hourly, from seeing reduction in our health benefits but being okay with it, from seeing reduction in our continuing education funds but somehow still being okay with it, all while we keep doing more and more and probably not getting a raise. So that's the employee mindset there. Okay. But what I want you guys to think about is there's a different mindset that I found to be very, very freeing. And that's the idea of shifting to the entrepreneur mindset. So the entrepreneur mindset is the idea of how you can grow things for yourself. How when it's not just about working hard and just working. It's about working with intention and picking things that are right for you and that fit your goals and your needs. It's about being creative and resourceful while being able to think outside the box and meet your passions and not necessarily meet just the passions of an organization, right? So it's the idea for me that I'm in the middle of the day. When I have my entrepreneur mindset, I can set my work up so that if I want to go at 1 o'clock in the middle of my day to read a story at my daughter's school, I have the power and the freedom to do that, right? It's about where I get every holiday off no matter what, because no one wants to do a driving eval on Christmas, which works out in my favor, but I get to make those decisions. It's about thinking about my clients now and what's best for my clients and not necessarily, well, I was scheduled for 30 minutes. And so even though we're having this breakthrough, we're done because I have somebody else on my schedule. And for me, I think that's been the biggest change, right? Being able to set my own schedule and drive my own therapy without thinking about how do I code this so it gets reimbursed? How do I make sure it's going to be covered and not denied? Because I've struggled with that. How do you document the extra 20 minutes it took to sit and help somebody through the idea they've lost their limb and they're having a tough day, and you have to motivate them. When you're constantly forced with the idea of how do you document it and bill it so it's reimbursable, there were many times I didn't know how to do that, and so I didn't capture it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to walk away from that person. That's not who I am, but you feel that those pressures, right? And now in my own mindset, when I work for myself and I run things myself, we can pull the car over and we can have a good cry. And we can, I love this. My patients, once they get in the car, they're like, can we stop at X, Y, and Z? Can we just run into the convenience store for whatever? Or more recently now, my patients who have been isolating. Oh my gosh, my guy on Thursday. So we have the windows down because of the pandemic and just for airflow. And he was just giggling the entire time because he was finally in the car and he was so happy to be in a car and moving. And he's like, I've got the wind in my hair. Not that I have any hair. It's amazing. You know, being able to take those moments and celebrate those things with those people. And for us, we did an extra lap right around his city because he just felt so good to be in the car. Being able to do those things, it was just amazing. So having the ability to shift has been a really interesting experience and journey for me. And I have to tell you, it's not even something I realized within myself. I didn't realize how much this employee mindset was holding me back and making me unhappy and keeping me from being the OT I wanted to be. And I didn't even realize it really until this year after, 2 years after owning my own business. It's so I wanted to kind of elevate and bring that topic out to you guys because I think it's really relevant and it's really important, especially in healthcare now, where we have so many demands with productivity and efficiency and this, and this. And I think it's bigger than our managers, right? Our managers help to hold us accountable, but it's bigger than them, and it's bigger than that. It's the system, I think, that can really force us to become these production people rather than the people we really want to be as OTs. So I challenge you to think about that, and I challenge you to dream about that, because I keep talking to these awesome, amazing OTs who can't see another way, and there is another way, and I'm here to tell you there's another way. And that for me, and if you're interested in it, driving has been an amazing way for me to break free of that employee mindset and to go out on my own. So let me tell you a little bit about kind of that connection, right? So why driving rehab fits this so perfectly. So initially, years ago, I thought, fighting for insurance coverage on driving evals would just be amazing, right? That people would, if it's covered, everybody will get it, and then my life will be so much better. I don't have to argue with people that they need it. So back point, when it comes to driving rehab, there are portions, people set up a comprehensive evaluation different ways, and some split it out where there's clinical testing and then there's behind the wheel. Clinical testing is that occupational therapy skill testing we do before we get somebody in the car, when we're looking at vision, cognition, coordination, sensation, working memory, all those pieces together. As occupational therapists, if we break that out, we can capture that under insurance. But almost every other Medicare fiscal intermediary, there's another word I can't say, they don't reimburse for driving, and as a result, most insurance companies won't reimburse. As soon as you get in the car, that piece isn't reimbursable. Okay, so why driving for me is so freeing is because in my private practice, I'm providing a service that's not covered and it's cash-based. And it removes an entire headache for me about having to bill it to Medicare, having to submit different insurance coverage, having to spend my time and energy, having to figure out if it's okay, right? Because other areas of practice for OT, they tell you you can't go cash-based. If it's a coverable or reimbursable service, it should be, you have to do that. So it becomes confusing. With driving, it's not really covered, so you're good to go, and it's amazing. And being in a cash-based practice has allowed me to just completely structure my life and my routine and my practice how I want to. And then people choose if they're going to partner with me, if that works for them. And our relationship with my, I don't even call them patients now, I call them my clients, becomes this collaboration where people really can grow and return or transition from driver to passenger. So I really think that the world of driving rehab is a perfect fit if you're excited about this idea of becoming an entrepreneur. And what I'll show you guys just really briefly, and then I'd love to take any questions you have, is that the idea that you can get here pretty easily, right? If you get the foundational education, which is, I'll show you guys here in just a second, the part one building blocks and the take the wheel. That was a tongue twister. Part two, take the wheel. You get those foundational skills, and then with you find a mentor or you find a coach or we work together, in 3 to 4 months you can get yourself up and running and going, and you can get yourself started, whether you do it full-time or part-time or on the side, and you can carve out your way. And I believe once you start doing that, you'll feel the same freedom and excitement, and you'll want to do it full-time for yourself too. So let me just switch. I'm going to share my screen and show you guys the education plan that you can use. You know, and I know some of you have already taken it or have taken some other introduction courses. So if you'd like to share any feedback, you're more than welcome to as well. You're always welcome to. But let me just, and I'm sorry, gotta share my screen here. So if you're new to driving rehab and you're interested and you're trying to figure out how do I get into this, there's a couple different avenues. This was developed by Susan Pierce 30 years ago. Susan was one of the leading occupational therapists and driver rehab specialists in the country. She was doing this, you know, since before it became a cool specialty area. And what she found is that there weren't any courses that were really geared towards occupational therapy practitioners. There were a lot of courses geared towards driving instructors for kind of how to connect the medical piece, but there wasn't a connection for the OT to the driving piece. So this education is based off of everything she started, but what we've done over the years is redesigned it to put more of it online and then have a hands-on workshop. So the first part you can totally take online is part one, the building blocks. This is 25 hours, it's 10 online courses where you learn how to do those clinical skills as an OT in your clinic, how to address driving, how to screen the vision, how to look at motor, coordination, cognition. We introduce the idea of driving simulators in your clinic as well, with the idea of thinking about like driving risk, where somebody is with high, low, or moderate driving risk, and what do they need next. The next piece then, if you like this and you're thinking, oh, I want to be all in and I want to also be the OT in the car, is this really unique piece called Take the Wheel. This is a blend of online courses and then a hands-on live workshop. And this workshop is really unique because I said, you know, as OTs, we need that driving piece, right? We need that experience in the car. This is the only workshop in the United States and in the world that I'm familiar with as a workshop setting where you can come for 3 days and sit in the car and practice your skills as a driver rehab specialist. And this one's fun. This is really fun. You know, I was in Colorado about this time last year, and I remember Kate said to me, Kat, sorry, I've got Kate on the phone, but Kat said to me, this is the only workshop I've never fallen asleep in. It's just fun and interactive and dynamic, and you're in the front seat and you're, you know, in the driver's seat, and you're learning how to use the hand controls and you're learning how to control the car, and we're doing case studies and practicing, like, what do you do for someone with dementia? What do you do for somebody with a spinal cord injury? What do you do for somebody who has a stroke? How do you handle the car and take control if something's going out of control? How do you keep yourself safe and other people safe? How do you make decisions about equipment? So this course is really unique. And I think really important from a liability standpoint if you're going to be an OT in the car, because you need some kind of formal training to show you're ready to do this, right? And then the third piece is if you are somebody who wants to start their own practice and you're looking for someone to help mentor and coach you, I'm ready to help. I have a mentorship program. It's my first one is launching in September, my first group, September 14th, but it's a 4-month experience. And during that time, I'm going to give you all the tricks of the trade. I've worked in 3 different programs. I most recently started my own private practice. And so the idea is you don't need to recreate the wheel when it comes to making decisions about liability insurance. I'll give you my opinions. I'll guide you to who I'm using. You can make your own choices, but here's the information. You don't need to recreate the wheel when it comes to documentation. Here's my system. Here are my forms. Here you go. Don't recreate the wheel when it comes to even marketing ideas. Here's some different ideas. Here's what you need. Here you go. Here are the policy and procedures in your program guidelines. So you don't have to recreate those things. Here you go. And we just kind of walk you through that mentorship to get you started and get you going. So that's kind of the flow if you want to get into this and you want to learn how to be a driving rehab specialist, and then if you want to start your own practice. I'm going to pause here and love to open it up for either comments or if there's questions. And there's one in the chat, I think, so we'll come over to the chat box too. So will you be coming to India for parts 2 and 3? Sure. As soon as they open the borders, I'm serious. I am ready to travel. I am ready to take this different places. So, Sharav, hoping I'm saying that correct? I would love to partner with you and would love to come to India and figure out a way to do it. And I think, what we need to do is figure out who's interested and then get a group together and figure out how to make it work. Maybe Kate, you can come along.
Hi, Susie. It's Emily Morgan. How are you?
Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. So as you know, I took the building blocks course and I loved it for anyone who has not taken it. I know right now our healthcare system is not going to be moving forward with any behind the wheel evaluations, but they do want to market us as having a driving rehab program. And we just got our drive safety simulator a couple weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
I can definitely talk to you more about that online or offline some other time. Next week, I'm going to be talking with Dr. Janelle Brooks too, who I believe you know as well. But my director is actually interested in entertaining the idea of myself and Allison joining your mentorship program. Do you have openings and how much does it cost?
Yeah, really great question. So I definitely have openings. We can even look. I like to keep the mentorship to like 3 or 4 people. So even within your group, if you guys want to set up kind of like your own mentorship, if there's 2 or 3 of you, we can look at that as well. As a standalone, 4 months are $2,400. But I'm always open to, working out a deal too. So if there's like 2 or 3 of you for your setting who want to engage in mentorship, we can look at that for you. See, because I get to run my own business.
Okay.
I can do those things, which I love.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about that offline later for sure.
Yeah, and congratulations on the Drive Safety Simulator. I love that one, and Janelle is amazing. So you guys will learn so much from her. She's the one I did the research project on for the usability in the clinic, the OT's use of the system.
Sure. And it is really, really a neat tool. But as soon as it was delivered and we had Ken train us in just the nuts and bolts of it, I suddenly realized, oh my goodness, there's a lot to learn about the terminology of all the different skills that you have to have for competencies when it comes to driving. And now my mind is just swirly whirly right now about how to, now that I have the simulator, how do I develop impairment-based goals while still trying to kind of check the list of a lot of the different things that someone would have to do to become proficient for passing a road test. And just out of the woodworks, I'm getting all these calls now from physicians, and we have not actually launched yet. And I'm just like, whoa, am I ready for this? So I'm getting a little overwhelmed, but we'll do it. We'll do it.
You'll never feel ready.
That's good advice, Kate. Yeah.
But at the same token, it's worth taking the leap. I have sat in on a couple of Susie's talks, and the thing that I realized the most is you have all the skills as an OT. You have all the skills before you even take the building blocks courses. You just have to organize them in the right way to address driving. And then once you have that like aha moment of like, oh, this is how it relates to the car, or oh, these are how the vision principles and cognitive principles apply, then you can say, oh, driving is like the ultimate OT activity, right?
Yeah.
Everything. So, just having your OT knowledge works in the car. And even if you don't have any other guidance besides the building blocks and what Susie has already provided, I will tell you that you know more than you think you do. It's just part of being an OT. You just have to put it in the right terms, and that's where these courses are so helpful. So you will never feel ready until you're already doing it, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I got it. So
yeah,
sure.
I think that's really good advice. And then the other thing for me is, you just start with one person for the simulator. Just start with one. You don't have to see them all the same day, and you work through it. So it's interesting, and I think that there's another value in having like a mentor or having somebody help you kind of work through those cases. Simulators are awesome tools, and you just have to think about it as a tool, an intervention tool, addressing that vision, cognition, learning about those tools and what things can help. Janelle's going to share with you a really awesome performance for the different tasks or activities with the simulator. You're really going to benefit from that. And just over in the chat box, there was a question from Monica about what simulator we're talking about. It's the drive safety simulator. There's 3 main simulators kind of out in the world for OTs and driving, and this is one of them. And I will find the post, the website, and share it with you guys. But this is, so I've used the drive safety and I've partnered with them. I don't sell that as part of my course, but we have some stuff about that in the courses. Emily, you look like you're ready to run.
I actually went for a swim this morning. So I live in Michigan, and we just have beautiful lakes, and our summers are really nice. And so I went for a 1 mile swim, and I literally just got back about 15 minutes before the call. And I was like, I've got to throw on something to cover up my swim head.
Good for you. Good for you. We're so happy you're here.
Thanks.
So a couple other questions in the chat box. And Haley, help me understand this one. So you're asking, would we be able to provide tips in the car app? I'm not sure what you mean with the end of that question, but yeah, the whole take the wheel is the idea of how do you control the vehicle, and what do you do, and how do you problem solve? But I'm wondering if you're asking also about how to convert a car, or how to modify a car, and we definitely address that also in our Take the Wheel course as well. If there's more to that question, let me know. And then you asked another great question, Haley, about what online tools can be used for these assessments. So through the part 1 building blocks, we talk a lot about different assessments and different tools. So I think the mindset's really shifting. When I started 20 years ago, the mindset was, here's your clinical, and you go X, Y, and Z through the clinical. And you always kind of do the same tests or measures for everybody. And that's when you start, you kind of work that way. But what you find with OT and driving is that you learn how to pick and choose these different tests and measures we're talking about based on the medical condition, based on the individual. So there's lots. So that's a loaded question, because there's lots of assessment tools and options out there. One quick way to start though is I have a free course on foundational resources that you can add to your clinic. That would be a great place if you're looking for some foundational resources for starting. And I'll post that as well. Let's see. How do you acquire clients? Pennsylvania isn't a direct access state, so do I partner with physicians? So Fatima, yes, that's a great question. So I find clients, I receive referrals from physicians, but I also receive direct referrals from drivers and from family members. So because I consider myself an OT and I'm licensed by an OT, anyone who participates in my program, I do receive an order from a physician for an occupational therapy, driving evaluation and treatment. So that serves as that kind of referral because I'm still, and I do really consider myself an OT. And then I'm also, I've got my liability insurance as a driving rehab specialist as well. But I will, if they don't come directly from the doctor, I get that referral. And that referral connection is a great way to network and also teach them about what I do. And then I follow up with the report, and then I follow up with any questions they might have. And I hopefully make that connection for the next time by showing them I can solve a problem for them. That's a good question. So I do always operate with an order, and that is one of the best practice recommendations from the Association of Driving Rehab Specialists as well. So Monica asks, if you start from scratch, what cash requirements and business plan are we talking about? So this is really great too. I've got a bunch of different resources. I would say, so for me, I have a community-based driving program. I took my personal vehicle, I modified it. A lot of the vendors are willing to donate the equipment. A lot of the equipment installers are willing to donate the installation. There is some equipment you'll pay for. I still needed to pay for my instructor brake and for my extra mirrors and like my cleaning supplies and road safety kit. So, that might be $500 or $600 for those pieces. Gathering a couple pieces for your clinical testing. I don't have an Optech. Those are thousands of dollars. I use simple screening tools for vision. I did invest in a brake reaction timer, which can run about $1,500. And then, car insurance is my biggest expense. Having car insurance, liability insurance, and coverage that meets my needs and my risk. And that for me has run between, where I live, has run between $4,500 and $5,000 based on the year. But I use my personal vehicle. I cut my expenses way down. The other minor expenses you're going to have are things like, getting your business license, maybe working with an accountant, having a computer. My documentation system, I think, is $60 a month. My fax is like $100 a year. But we work through all these pieces also in the mentorship group as well. But those are some kind of foundation starts. I would say a good plan for starting your small business is to estimate between $7,000 and $10,000 to comfortably get yourself started and to know what you want to do. And Kate, you've kind of started yourself off too. Would you say somewhere in that range is what your goal is?
Yeah, that's my goal. I mean, I think the realization that I've made is until you get yourself registered with a name, you can't really do the other pieces.
Yeah, right.
So I had to pick a name, even though I didn't have my insurance or have any of those things that I wanted to save up for. And I was like, oh, well, that's really cheap. Oh, that's $100 here, $25 here for licenses and registering with your state and that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I roundabout ballparked 5,000 as the minimum for what I wanted to get up as a startup fee to have in my pocket before I started taking clients. And then I would say 7 to 10 is probably reasonable.
The other consideration, if you need the education pieces, no matter kind of where you go with me, or if you find another group, you're usually investing about between $4,000 and $5,000 in your education to get started as a driving rehab specialist. And that kind of goes to your question, Miriam. There's no official way to determine if you're, I'm sorry, you said certified driving rehab specialist. To become a certified driving rehab specialist, that's a credential offered through the Association of Driving Rehab Specialists. You do have to operate as a driving rehab specialist for a couple of years and earn a certain number of hours before you can sit for that examination. To call yourself a driving rehab specialist, AOTA identifies you need advanced training and knowledge. And that's kind of as much as it's defined, it's very undefined. But this course, like the part 1 and part 2, is a total of 60 hours, including the hands-on training and mentorship you get, which is a solid start. Kate, how did you initially find a safety course on how to take control of the vehicle in an out of control event? I did adaptive mobility's Take the Wheel, and I'll never forget, I was driving down the road as the driving rehab specialist, and the person in the passenger seat was enacting having a spinal cord injury without a chest strap on, and we went around the turn and they fell over in my lap. So like having those experiences and testing those things out is what I've learned. And so that's a big piece of what I do in Take the Wheel, is how to disengage the vehicle, how to shift it in neutral, how to know what you can do in your car to keep yourself and other people safe. And I think it's a very big and important thing to do. You know, we learn to use our clinical testing to really anticipate other people. And most of the time, the problem is people are like too slow or making like really bad slow turns. And you're like, let's go a little faster. You know, so, and that's the older adult population. So that's mainly what I see. I don't use a lot of my intervention tools, but like, for example, yesterday I was at the DMV. My guy got super nervous because he was being tested. He was an exceptional hand control driver. Super nervous. He hit the gas instead of the brake, and my instincts, because I've been trained, I hit that brake so fast. We were like, everyone was safe. Right, so we work on those skills so that you know what you can do in your car. And then, of course, if you go into higher tech, like taking that higher tech training like you've done, Kate, is going to be important. And always thinking about like, how can I stop this vehicle? How can I control this vehicle? Those pieces. But I would say the Take the Wheel is a good foundational start for that stuff. It's interesting because, you know, like race car drivers, they learn how to come out of a spin, right? Like, so we're not doing spins, right? But you know, it's that idea, like, how do you control the vehicle? And I think that's really important to understand. You know, I didn't know before I took the wheel that I could just throw the car in neutral at any point, which is kind of crazy because I drove a manual transmission. So I should have put that together, but just learning those things and learning my comfort with driving the car from the passenger seat, being able to reach the wheel, being comfortable with taking control of those pieces is so important. Important for your own confidence. Yeah. Awesome. So I said I'm going to send you guys a couple things. I'll send out the link for the foundational resources, so you have that. I'll send out the link for Drive Safety. What else do you guys need from me that I can help you with today? I think, oh, Kate, you brought up a really great point about like, you need to register your name. Mm-hmm. You're starting to think about these things. My first advice, and I said this on my last call, is to start by dreaming about what could be and who you want to be, and playing with names, because you are going to need a good name for your business. And make sure it's a name that you're really comfortable saying over and over and over again, because you will say it a lot. You'll say it a lot. And then I would say my second advice, so I was thinking about this today, like I like to give people something to leave with, is if you're thinking about carving out your own private practice, start by doing a little, customer research. Like, what else is in your area? Who else is there? What else do they do? Where are your competitors? What are their pricing? But I also want to put that out with a caveat. The idea that don't let somebody else's business intimidate you or think that what you have to share with the world isn't important, because it is. I think one of the interesting philosophies I've learned from my husband, who's the chiropractor, is they're actually taught to set up their practices not in the same town, but in neighboring towns. Because if you have one chiropractor that's established and successful, that means that the community is open to the idea and that you don't have to recreate the wheel. So you don't like move in on top of somebody, but having another choice in that area strengthens it. And you think about states where driving rehab is going really well. Colorado. Colorado has 10 to 12 driving rehab specialists, and they have phenomenal programs in partnership with the state DMV. Pennsylvania, we've got more than 10, right? And it's good. We've got mountains separating us, but you know, we have options and we work in each other's backyards and we're respectful of each other, but having those ideas and knowing that the area is open or that for physicians are familiar with this is helpful to you. So don't let that necessarily stop you either as you're thinking about your practice. So keep dreaming, dream big, think about what you could be called, and you know, start looking around and seeing what else is out there in your area. Those are things you can do for free right away to start thinking about your own practice. And I'll just say with that, I do want to say you want to always be respectful of the groups around you, you know, so as you work with mentors and different people, you wouldn't want to call them up and like replicate their business, but let them know what you're doing too. I find that if you're transparent, you're upfront, you let people know what you're doing, they're going to be helpful if they're helpful, and otherwise you just need to move on and find the next person too. So Haley, do you make contact with driving schools, specific driving instructors? I actually have two different, I live in a really small town of 3,000 people. And interestingly enough, in my little town, there's 2 driving schools. So I partner with them because I cannot work with new drivers. I'm not licensed with new drivers. And so I'll partner with these driving schools for those scenarios when we have, you know, young adults with Asperger's or developmental delays or different things. I'll partner with those driving schools for that piece. I think it's really important, no matter where you work, if you end up working in the clinic like Emily was kind of describing, or you're somebody like me who can't take new drivers, you need to connect with different people who can definitely serve the things that you can't do, serve the in-car pieces or serve the new drivers or serve the high tech. You know, there's a great certified driving rehab specialist who covers a lot of the area, who's got every high technology under the sun. You know, as soon as I know that my patient would be better, like I'm screening them on the phone, I'm referring them wherever else they need to go, just to make sure people have what they need. So always important to know what's out there as well. And then Allie, we talked a little bit about how to become a certified driving rehab specialist. You do need to have a little bit of experience. I will share the link for that specifically as well for those requirements. It's experience. You need to have some education, experience as a driving rehab specialist, and then it's an examination you apply and take. Great. What other questions do you have?
As far as her question for worldwide recognized, it's just recognized in US and Canada, correct?
Yeah, North America. North America.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that had branched out yet.
Yeah. Great questions, though. Well, I will stay on the line. It's really great to hear from everyone and to talk with everyone. And I love your questions. I'll stay on the line, but it's Saturday. And if you're running low on coffee, it might be time to go get a refill. Thank you so much always for taking your time to listen. It means so much. If I can help you any way I can, I'm here. And if you joined,
thank you so much for being such a leader in this field.
Oh, thanks, Emily. That means a lot to me. I'm happy. I'm really, really happy to help any way I can. People helped me. Pay it forward is always important, right? Yeah. If you guys joined a little late, if you haven't already put your name in the chat box, I'd really appreciate that. Just name and where you're from. I like to keep track. It's exciting to see people from all over the world, and a big shout out to Saudi Arabia, India, and South Africa for making it. And even my early birds in California.
Susie, when is your next Take the Wheel?
Thank you so much. My next one is here in Pennsylvania, September 28th through 30th, pending pandemic.
Right, right.
But we have a couple of spots for that one yet. Grace asked, What tipped the iceberg for you to decide to start your own business? Grace, I will be 100% transparent. I was not thinking about starting my own business, and I was laid off. And even after I was laid off, I still was looking for an OT job. And my husband said, why are you going back to, okay, it's not just an OT, but why are you going back to work for somebody when you love doing this? And I already kind of left driving rehab for a little bit when I got married. And he was like, you were miserable. Please don't be miserable. Please do what you love, and you can do this. And he really encouraged me. So it was kind of circumstances. I do wish I had started my own practice years ago. I do, because I just love it so much.
How long do you feel like it took for you to build a clientele that was like sufficient for a full-time employment, you know?
Yeah. So I think the other thing that's important is when you work for yourself, full-time doesn't look the same. Mm-hmm. Right. And we've talked about this a little bit, because if as an OT you bill $120 an hour and you work for, let's say, a hospital, you might see a third of that in your paycheck, because 2/3 is going to the manager and the building expense and the blah, 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 blah. In private practice, I can work easily. Like right now, I'm working 2 days a week and making everything I need to be happy and satisfied. So to build it up to that, I would say, I was looking at this, my coach asked me this too. It took me about a month to get my business officially started, like licensed and all that good jazz. And then it took another couple weeks before I got my first client. And she was actually a friend of a friend of a friend. So it was just kind of a really nice circumstance. But once I got my first one, I consistently had one a week for the rest of the month. And then by my third month, I was doing a full day, so two a day. And then soon after that, it was 2 days a week, went up to 3 days a week. And I've always limited myself to 3 days a week, just because I'm also doing the education stuff. But it's more than enough for what I need. Yeah. And you got to think about your own self. I never work on a Friday. I never do driving on a Friday, except for yesterday when we have to with the DMV. Because Kate, you and I have always talked about this. Fridays, there's something about Fridays, right? So people
Not a good day to drive.
Oh man, people are moving around faster, traffic's heavier. Every little fender bender I've had has been on a Friday. So I just avoid Fridays here. It's just not what I want to do. And yeah, as much as I can, I avoid Fridays. Let's see. Oh yeah, Janita, I don't know how to say your name. I'm so sorry. I will definitely provide you with my email. I'll put it right in the chat right now. I can appreciate different countries are definitely different. And I have a good friend. I feel like we're becoming good friends in South Africa. We've already talked about Take the Wheel over there. So that could be exciting. Let's see. Monica, you asked private pay. Have you seen in case management pays for it? I'm not quite sure if you mean like vocational rehab or other programs. So yes, I've seen vocational rehab. I've seen workers' comp pay for driving rehab. Currently, I am not a vendor for vocational rehab in my state. So in the United States, each state has their own program. You have to be a vendor. The process was so kerfunkled over here that I spent like a half a day on it, and I was frustrated and I thought, if this is what it takes to become a vendor, I don't want to spend my time doing this. But I do take workers' comp. But workers' comp is different because you contract ahead of time and they usually just pay you out. I want to say that my VR system, there are other systems that work much more smoothly and they're much more efficient. So you should look at your own state's vocational rehab, because it could be a really wonderful source. My friend in South Africa is Marion. Marion Engel, blah, 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 blah. I have to look up her last name. But I've seen the name Carolyn Rule, so maybe we know each other as well. Well, you guys are awesome. Any other questions?
I got a ton of questions, but
You can ask him, Brandon. Go ahead.
oh no, I mean, I was looking at I know there's certain states that has no well, according to the ADED directory, there's no driving rehab specialists in the state at all.
Yeah.
So, you know, I
There's a couple places I would look to find out driving rehab specialists because here in the States, so we kind of have two different bodies we can associate with, like AOTA and AIDED. But there's also OTs who don't join either, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to. You can do this without joining either. So I would encourage you just to not just check the AIDED or the Association for Driver Rehab Specialist directory, but check the AOTA driving directory and also just Google like driving rehab in your state. There are states that have zero though. So that's interesting.
Yeah, because if I start a practice, it'll probably be in another state, you know. But it's encouraging. You live in that small town. You told me that last time, and you stay pretty busy. So it's
Yeah, and a lot of that has to be, it's based off of like my market research too, right? So I know what my competitors charge. And I know I've shared this with you guys before, like in my county where I live, I really cut the price of my driving evals because of the income level, but that has made such a difference. And so by cutting it, suddenly I see people right in my area. And it's not the only, and then that, I think there's something to be said, like when you start seeing people and you start the ball rolling, it just seems like the referrals kind of start to come from other places too. And there's something to be said about your mindset for seeing that happen and believing that happen. And, something really magical happened after my first patient, Loretta. Like it was just like, I got one and I knew I could do more, right? You just need that one. You just need that one person.
Yeah.
Something that my client, I did a kind of consult for one of the national mobility equipment dealers this past week.
Yeah.
And he is a private business owner, but he does like computer something, right? Something beyond my scope. But he was like, the thing that stuck out when we were talking about me opening the practice and getting a name, he was like, you just have to act like you're already where you want to be. You envision your end goal and you just act like you're already there, right? Because then eventually all those pieces start falling into place. And it's been so enlightening to start the process, because once I started, it was like, oh, now you need this piece. Oh, now you need this piece. And it's almost been like handed to me, like I found Susie, and then Susie introduced me to some of the tools. And then as I was talking with the Namita dealer, he's like, oh, well, I'm a small business. Here's my small business lawyer. Here's my insurance agent, and it was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I need those things too, and it's just like, as I start the ball rolling, it's just cascading into the next thing without me even really trying too hard. It's just really opened my eyes to the possibility. I'm going to be starting it as a part-time venture, but as I get this ball rolling, I can see that it could very well turn into a full-time thing. I just needed insurance for my family, and I felt more comfortable having that through the school system. So I had some sort of security while I got started. So I'm going to be practicing in a school to start this year. However, that's going to be virtual.
Yeah, we'll see what that looks like.
But then, doing the driver rehab on spring breaks and on the weekends, and, as I want to, when I want to. So it's a fun project instead of draining me full time. But like Susie said, maybe full time in driving rehab when you're a private practice versus full time in a corporation is a different ballgame altogether. So
yeah, It's interesting. I'll never forget. I had a professor who always said to us, 2 part-time jobs is like 3 full-time jobs.
Mhm.
So just don't, I would say, know your limits and don't plan on it forever, or know that and make sure you've got good boundaries so you don't have 3 full-time jobs because you're already got the mama job.
I know.
And it's
I've
doable.
always had a second job even when I was working full
Yeah.
time.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's totally doable. Like, don't take that
Yeah.
comment as you can't do it. It's just, I think
Yeah.
that it's worth acknowledging that. And I think that your other point about starting is really good. It is, like we said, it is a huge mind shift. It is from that employee to your entrepreneurship, and it's about where you can go. And this is why, you work with coaches. Like, if you want to be a bit better swimmer, play a sports player, whatever it is, because they help you motivate you, they help hold you accountable. This is why, like, starting the process, you just start with the first step and it goes to the next one. You guys can get there. You can get there you can totally do it on your own. If you need some help or coaching, there's options out there too for that. But you just got to start. And even if you get thrown off the bus like I did, good luck, Susie. And that's how it felt, right? But I'm so grateful. I really wish the bus had broken down like 5 years ago. So, but we're all on this path for a reason, and we all do what we do for a reason. So we're after 10 o'clock, so I'm gonna wrap us up, but look for a follow-up email from me, which will have the different links we talked about. I'm also going to include an offer for some one-on-one calls if you have your own goals you want to talk about. If you have things you want to explore and just talk through with me, I do 20-minute phone calls for that. So I'll make sure you guys all get that. Just let me know what times work for you, and we'll set it up and we'll go from there. There's no pressure. I want you to choose something that works for you. I always say that, fully transparent. I offer one way to become a driving specialist. I offer one coaching style. If I fit for you, I fit for you. If I don't, I'll help you find something that works for you too. All right. So thank you guys so much. I really love this time, and enjoy your weekend. I'm going to go make waffles.
Yeah.
Always makes me think of Shrek. We're going to eat waffles.
Thanks, Susie.
Take care, you guys.
Y'all have a good one.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.